Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some I Do Work Here Lady. Our first story today comes to us from Saint of Mystery Cat. Oh, I thought you were just a bathroom person. Let's jump right in. When I was 18, I started working at a coffee shop. It was terrifying. I hadn't done anything like it before, and most of my coworkers did not do much to hide their annoyance of the new girl who was still learning the ropes. A couple months after I got hired, I heard they were finally hiring someone new. I knew nothing about them, but was very relieved I wouldn't be the newest employee anymore. There was only one bathroom that was shared by staff and customers, and the public had to awkwardly walk behind an area of the counter and into the back of the store. This was where we kept a large selection of coffee beans sold for home use, and was usually where new employees would start out. When I came in for my shift, the new hire was behind the counter bagging beans or something. He was a bit younger than me, and when I walked by him to get to the back, we greeted each other with cheerful customer service smiles. I had no interest in being on the floor, even for an extra minute or two before my shift started, and figured we'd have a more complete introduction when I clocked in. Before long, I had to re-emerge to the floor, and first thing I logged into my drawer next to the new hires. When he saw me wearing an apron and at the register, he looked at me with a surprised but still cheery expression and proclaimed, "Oh, I thought you were just a bathroom person." I explained that nope, I work here too, and from there, we more sufficiently introduced ourselves and started chatting as we had time to. From the get-go, we got along pretty well and realized that we had a surprising amount of shared interests. His natural friendliness made me feel more at ease than I had since I started, and I enjoyed showing him the ropes and learning the more advanced things alongside him. Soon enough, our shifts together were filled with laughter and dumb ongoing jokes and boy talk, and then our work friendship became a very real friendship. It's been 15 years since then, and he's still one of my best friends and favorite people in the world. We've seen each other through huge life changes and heartbreaks, and even spent a year as roommates. At some point, we became family, and even when we're both horrible at keeping in touch, I never feel like we truly drift apart. I'm getting married next year, and I'm excited to have him as my bride's dude. Every so often, I jokingly give him crap about the fact that his first words to me were calling me just a bathroom person. I know most of the posts here are about annoying customers, but I thought I'd share a story about someone confusing me as a customer that ended up being a really important moment in my life. You know, even though it was a really short story, we hardly ever get ones that make us feel really good about reading them. I really enjoyed this story, kind of a nice change from the normal. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from some random American. I do work here. We've literally been working together all day. Let's jump right in. So, several years ago, I worked as a spirits consultant in a rather large regional liquor store. While the title may sound glamorous, apart from the occasional perk or being able to try a new whiskey while on the clock, I was basically a glorified cashier. I had been moved to another store following a rather catastrophic falling out with a coworker at my original store, who had decided the best way to train me was to corner me in the warehouse and scream at me about how I was an utter failure and would never amount to anything in life. A story for another time. I had subsequently been moved to another location, roughly the same distance from my home. On my first day, I was quickly introduced to the store's management staff, as well as the floor crew covering everything else. It was midweek, ordering was done, and it was a slow store, so I spent the majority of my time rotating bottles in the aisles or up front by the cashiers. It was that kind of store. In truth, that first shift we'd had maybe 20 customers store-wide over 9 hours. Hardly a rough shift, and there wasn't much to do. So my end of shift time rolls around and I decide to grab a 12-pack with my oh-so-generous 10% employee discount and take it up to the register, manned by a cashier I've literally been talking to all day. And then she asks me for ID. I'm in full company uniform, logo and all. We've been working together her entire shift. Bear in mind, this is a company that requires all employees to be 21 at a minimum. Even customers have to be 21 to step foot in the building and buy potato chips. There's no way I'm underage. I ask if she's serious. She reiterates that she isn't sure if I'm of age and is required to check. I stare at my coworker who clearly isn't all there and hand over an ID, which is where things get even more stupid. See, at the time, my company had a policy that if you were under 25, a manager had to approve that your ID wasn't fake. So my coworker, in her infinite wisdom, calls for a manager. The very same manager who had introduced me to the entire staff a few hours ago. He comes over, seemingly confused, and asks what the issue is. She replies, maybe slowly realizing the stupidity of the situation she herself has created, simply murmurs, "I can't be sure if he's 21. The manager glances between her, me, the 12-pack of Coors, her, me, the 12-pack again, her again, and back to me, before telling me to just take the pack on the house and come back tomorrow. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but I never worked with her again. Gotta be honest, because I've worked in a couple of places that required that you ask for ID. Even though this person was an employee there, you see a lot of people going by all the time during the day. You might make a mistake and not realize that it was an employee, but your job is to ID people. It's the law. So I can't really fault this person for IDing them for bringing up a 12-pack of Coors. Now, where I am, the law states that if you ask for ID, the person has to provide it. You can't just make an assumption and go, oh, I guess you're probably of age, and then sell them whatever it is. You have to see that ID if you've asked for it. Not sure if that's the same there, but I'd love to see your guys' comments down below. What do you think should have been done in this situation? I'd love to hear it. Our next story today comes to us from Plastic Nap Time. Hey, where's that guy that was here? Let's jump right in. I'm a female electrician. I completely understand how rare that is, and that you wouldn't immediately assume that when you look at me. I choose not to wear company clothing, and I don't like wearing tool belts. Later this month, I'm taking the exam for my master's license, so I'm certainly not new at this job. Anyway, I'm working in the electrical panel, and a guy from the neighborhood, like I mentioned in my last post here, it's always the old man, walks up to me and asks, "Hey, where's that guy that was here?" I don't know what guy? The one who does the electrical. I'm doing the electrical? Oh, scratches the back of head. Yeah, but he was helping me out, answering some questions I have. I gotcha, he's my coworker, but he left. Well, who else is here? I saw him with another guy. It's just me here. Is there anything I can help you with? So they're both gone, huh? He was explaining how my switches work. You know, there's so many. I'll just wait till I see him around again. Yeah, good idea, because he did such a great job explaining it to you the first time. He huffs and stomps off. I'm good with it. It's not like I get paid any extra to answer simple questions that were just answered an hour ago. I was there when he talked to my coworker, by the way. He doesn't understand why he has dead switches. We put in 2 switches for ceiling fans. One operates the fan itself, and one is there in case the fan comes with a light. This guy has fans with remotes, so the remote kit is hooked up to the switch for the light. Therefore, the one for the fan isn't functional because the remote now controls both the fan and the light. Really complicated stuff, I tell ya. There was a comment down below this story that actually made me laugh. It says, "Years ago, my friend's neighbors were a lovely young married couple. He was a nurse, and she was a car mechanic." That just about melted people's brains. I was going to charge right in and do a bunch of puns again, but I decided that might get people amped up. Sometimes the puns can disturb the flow of the video. I don't want there to be a surge of bad comments that will kick me in the jewels, and puns can sometimes leave a lot to be desired. Oh my. Our next story today comes to us from Foxy Freckles 1989. Yes, I do work here, and I'm your new manager. Let's jump right in. In 2016, I was the new girl once again. We moved every few years of my childhood. I was in a new marriage in a new state and had just landed a new job as a pool manager for the local YMCA. I knew nobody. I had just renewed my certifications and was to sit in on the lifeguard training classes leading up to summer hiring in order to get the Con Ed hours I needed for my lifeguard instructor certification renewal. Day 1 of class rolled around and the room quickly filled with 16, 17, and 18-year-old high school students. They were all chatting away happily, comparing notes about prom dresses and upcoming graduation parties, who'd just gotten their driver's licenses and more. I sat at the end of a U-shaped table waiting for the lead instructor to arrive. A cute, bubbly teenager sat right down next to me and asked me questions about myself. She figured out I'd just moved to town and was elated. She'd met a new friend that she could show around as far as she was concerned. I listened intently as she told me which mall was trash and which movie theater had the best prices, and then she asked me which school I went to. It was in that moment that I finally realized she thought I was her age. I was 26 at the time. I'm a redhead with pale skin and freckles, and only look almost my age if I'm wearing makeup, which I never did to the pool. I answered her, "Oh, I actually just enrolled at name of college, and I'm taking a full course load on top of this job." She excitedly told me she was also taking college courses on top of her high school classes and was set to graduate high school early. She was a junior and 17. I thought about telling her the truth, but the lead instructor walked in right at that moment. I let him quiet the class and introduce himself, and right on cue, he asked me to come to the front of the room to introduce myself as well. "Hi y'all, my name is OP, and I'll be managing the pool this summer. I'll also be helping to certify you as lifeguards." Then, we had each teen introduce themselves and played an icebreaker game. I looked at my employee roster and realized the bubbly girl would be working at my pool. The sweet girl recovered so quickly, I sat back down next to her, and she leaned over and whispered, "Oh my god, I hope I look half as good as you do when I'm old." I laughed and thanked her, and then informed her she'd be working for me that season. She looked momentarily embarrassed, but told me she couldn't wait. She ended up being one of my best guards that season, and I still keep up with her and give her references for new jobs, almost 7 years later. She just graduated nursing school and is about to have a baby. I'm so proud of her, and it's a fond memory for sure. What is it with all these wholesome stories? I'm not crying, you're crying. Our next story today comes to us from Medieval Grunge. "Ma'am, I'm the only manager here tonight. Let's jump right in. A few years ago, I worked at a local historic site that did day tours as well as costumed evening events, which was what I did. After a couple of years, I was trained up as a part-time manager, and after some initial anxiety, really settled into the role. At this point, I was small, 20 going on 21, and baby-faced even with all the makeup and the costume. We had an ongoing issue with tourists littering inside and outside the curtain wall surrounding the site. We cleaned up the litter inside, but technically anything outside was owned by the county and therefore not our responsibility, so we didn't touch it and hoped the county would actually do its job for once. Between shifts, the site would look completely deserted since we locked all doors and stayed away from windows to discourage overeager visitors from taking pictures and trying to force their way into the site. One day, as we were preparing to reopen for the evening, someone knocked on the front door, and thinking it was a coworker, I got up to let them in. Instead, I opened the door to a large bag of garbage and a very angry-looking local in a faux official high-vis vest. From her perspective, she had marched up to knock on the door of a deserted castle and had been answered by a very young woman in full historical costume. "Good evening, we will reopen in about 40 minutes. You have a responsibility to clean up the litter on your site. You have to dispose of this bag for me." "Did you collect that inside or outside of the curtain wall?" "Outside. It's filthy out there. Now take this bag off me." Any land on the outside of the wall is owned by the county, and so I suggest you contact them. We are not responsible for it or any rubbish on it. "Well, I need to speak to your manager." "Okay, that would be me." "No, not you, your real manager." "Yes, I am the manager here tonight." "Well, I need you to leave a note for the actual manager then." "Leave a note for myself?" "No, for whoever is actually working here." "Ma'am, I'm literally the only one working here right now. I can take down your name and phone number if you like, but that bag of rubbish is not our responsibility. Have a good evening." I then closed the large, heavy door in her face with a very satisfying thud. Now, I was kinda wondering why OP didn't just take the bag, but she said in a comment down below, "As the new person, I wasn't going to set a precedent of, we accept bags of rubbish from rude people for the sake of her and her coworkers." That actually makes perfect sense, because this person, with how angry and rude they were, would definitely be back with more. Our last story today comes to us from Wafer 2016, far above and beyond the Call of Duty. Let's jump right in. This story took place just after lockdown went worldwide last year. I had been stuck inside for 2 weeks so far, and one bright winter day realized I was quickly going to be running out of essentials. Shampoo, body wash, all the fun stuff so I don't stinketh. So my brother took me to the world of Wally to do a bit of shopping. I pulled on my black surgical gloves and my mask and sallied forth to pillage the shelves, from a socially distant 6 feet away from everybody else. Everything went great. I avoided all the people who were also avoiding me and made it back to the front doors in one piece. Woot! As I was leaving, I happened to pass an employee working store standards and we chatted for a few minutes. I wished him well and told him I hoped he would stay safe. Hopped into my brother's van and went to close the sliding door. It wouldn't close. Tried again, nope. Had a peek and the seatbelt was stuck in the door. Oh great. My brother tried to get it out, no luck. It was stuck but good. Just as we were about to despair, the same employee I had chatted with came up and asked if he could be of help. This man got down on his knees on the cold, wet, snowy ground for almost 25 minutes working to free that silly seatbelt from the gears of the door. Finally, after much patient fiddling on his part, he managed to free it, saving us time and expense of getting it professionally repaired or having to cut it free, which was our other option. After he stood up and tried to brush the slush off his pants, we thanked him profusely and wished him a wonderful day. As soon as I got home, I made sure to call and tell the store manager what a wonderful thing he did. Manager was very happy and told me he would be sure to congratulate him on a superior job. Honestly, with all that has been going on in the world, this guy was a ray of sunshine and blessed our day with cheerful help and a kind smile. We need more people like him. Check out all 5 OPs linked in the description down below. Check out all 6 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.